Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. The three-day annual NATO summit is wrapping up in Spain with a new commitment from the Biden administration to permanently bolster U.S. military presence in Europe with a permanent base in Poland. It also includes an agreement for Finland and Sweden to join NATO and the alliance updating its strategic concept to reflect China's coercive policies and Russia as a threat, a major shift from strategic partner a decade ago. President Joe Biden made an address as the summit wrapped up today.
This summit was about strengthening our alliance, meeting the challenges of our world as it is today, and the threats we're going to face in the future. The last time NATO drafted a new mission statement was 12 years ago. At that time, it characterized Russia as a partner, and it didn't even mention China. The world has changed a great deal since then, and NATO is changing as well. At this summit, we rallied our alliances to meet both the direct threats of Russia poses to Europe and the systemic challenges that China poses to a rules-based world order.
Christopher Martinez has more.
NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg described the 2022 summit as historic and transformative.
First of all, the decision to invite Finland and Sweden to become members demonstrates that NATO's door is open. It demonstrates that President Putin did not succeed in closing NATO's door.
Turkey had opposed NATO membership for the two countries, accusing them of supporting what it called Kurdish terrorist groups. But after tough negotiations, Turkey agreed Tuesday night to lift its opposition. Finland and Sweden agreed, among other things, to lift their restrictions on arms sales to Turkey. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says Turkey, in his words, got what it wanted. But the agreement was not welcomed by Kurdish activists, like Swedish lawmaker Amina Kakabova. She's part of Sweden's 100,000-strong Kurdish community. She calls it a black day in Swedish political history, saying Stockholm was sacrificing the Kurds for the sake of NATO membership. But Stoltenberg calls it a good agreement for Turkey, for Finland and Sweden, and for NATO. The next step is approval from the 30 NATO member countries. Reporting for Pacifica Radio News KPFA, I'm Christopher Martinez.
The Biden administration begins holding its first onshore oil and natural gas sales from public lands since the president took office. The lease auctions conclude Thursday. They come after a federal court blocked the administration's attempt to suspend federal lease sales because of climate change concerns. But a coalition of environmental groups has filed a last-ditch effort lawsuit arguing the sales are illegal because officials ignored climate change impacts from burning fossil fuels. The World Health Organization says the number of COVID-19 cases rose 18% in the last week, with more than 4.1 million new cases reported globally. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus warns the COVID-19 pandemic is not over.
On COVID-19, driven by BA4 and BA5 in many places, cases are on the rise in 110 countries, causing overall global cases to increase by 20%, and deaths have risen in 3 of the 6 WHO regions, even as the global figure remains relatively stable. This pandemic is changing, but it's not over.
According to the WHO, the largest increase was seen in the Middle East, 47% increase. In Europe, COVID-19 has increased 32% and 14% in the Americas. The World Health Organization also criticized the U.S. Supreme Court's decision striking down Roe v. Wade. UN Chief Scientist Dr. Soumya Swaminathan calls abortion a life-saving measure and said denying a woman access to abortion is like denying someone a life-saving drug. In recent years, a trend among nations has been to increase access to abortion, including regions where there was staunch opposition like Latin America. Nearly 3 months after she won confirmation of the Supreme Court, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson will be sworn in as the court's 116th justice today. She will be the first Black woman to serve on the nation's high court, replacing Justice Stephen Breyer. Jackson will join 3 other women, Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Amy Coney Barrett. It will be the first time 4 women will serve together on the 9-member court. The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled Oklahoma can prosecute non-Native Americans for crimes committed on tribal land when the victim is Native. The 5-4 decision cut back on the High Court's ruling from 2020 that had reaffirmed Oklahoma reservation boundaries and held the state did not have jurisdiction. The death toll has risen to 53 as 2 more migrants died after being trapped inside a sweltering tractor trailer near San Antonio, Texas. Some of the more than a dozen people transported to hospitals were found suffering from brain damage and internal bleeding. The House committee investigating the deadly January 6 insurrection has issued a subpoena to former White House counsel Pat Cipollone. Previously, witnesses testified he was in meetings in which lawyers debated strategies to overturn former President Donald Trump's election loss. It comes after a January 6 committee hearing in which a former White House aide, Cassidy Hutchinson, testified Cipollone urged aides to stop Trump from accompanying protesters to the Capitol, as he wanted to do. She said Cipollone warned there would be legal consequences if he did. I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.